Jesus said, "When you see this, don't pray, just run." Imagine Jesus looking straight into the eyes of his disciples and warning them of a moment so terrifying that he didn't tell them to pray. He told them to run, not to fight, not to kneel, not to wait for a miracle, just run. What could be so dangerous, so evil, that Jesus himself gave that command? It's called the abomination of desolation. A prophecy so serious, Jesus said it would mark the beginning of the greatest suffering the world has ever seen. But what is the abomination? Has it already started? And most importantly, how will you know when it's here? Because once it appears, there won't be time to debate or argue, only time to run. Stick with me, because I'm going to show you the signs to watch for before it's too late. Stay with me, because missing this could mean missing your last chance to escape. Let's go back 2,000 years. Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. The sun was setting behind him. The great Temple of Jerusalem stood tall in the distance. Its golden walls caught the last light of the day, glowing against the darkening sky. The disciples had heavy hearts. They had just heard Jesus say that the temple, this mighty sacred place, would one day be destroyed. Not one stone would be left on another. It sounded impossible. It sounded like the end of the world. So they came to him privately. They had burning questions, questions that kept them awake at night. "Tell us," they said, "when will these things happen? What will be the sign of your coming? What will be the sign of the end of the world?" They didn't ask lightly. They asked because they truly wanted to be ready. They asked because they were afraid of being caught off guard. They wanted to survive. They wanted to stay faithful. And Jesus, full of mercy, answered them. But his answer was not soft. It was not comforting. It was chilling. He described terrible things. False prophets would rise up. Nations would fight against nations. Famines and earthquakes would shake the earth. But then Jesus said something even more alarming. "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains." Matthew 24:15-16. Jesus wasn't just speaking in riddles. He wasn't just giving them a puzzle to solve later. He was giving them a direct order, an urgent command. When you see it, don't stay, don't fight. Don't even pray about it. Flee. There wouldn't be time to think it over. There wouldn't be time to gather supplies. There wouldn't be time to warn others. You would have to run. Right then. Right there. This wasn't the moment for faith to stand still. It was the moment for faith to move, to obey, to escape. Jesus painted the picture even more clearly. "Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes." Matthew 24:17-18. In other words, if you're on the rooftop resting, don't even go inside to grab a coat. If you're working in the fields, don't go home to pack a bag. Just run as fast as you can. Because the danger would be like a flood. It would sweep over everything without mercy. It would swallow up anyone who hesitated. And Jesus' heart broke for those who would be most vulnerable. He said, "And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day." Matthew 19-20. Imagine a mother, heavy with child, struggling to flee. Imagine parents carrying babies in their arms, running for their lives. Winter would make the journey harder. The Sabbath laws would slow the faithful down. Every extra obstacle could cost precious seconds. Jesus loved his people so much that he told them the truth plainly. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't hide it behind gentle words. He warned them because love warns. He warned them because he wanted them to live. He warned them because obedience would mean survival. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Matthew 24:21. Not just ordinary trouble, not just a bad year, but great tribulation. The worst the world had ever seen or ever would see again. The disciples listened with wide eyes. They didn't know exactly when it would happen, but they knew that when it did, they would have to act immediately. No second chances, no delay. The world would be changed forever in that moment, and only those who obeyed Jesus' warning would escape the horror to come. But to understand how deadly this moment is, we need to go even further back, to the book of Daniel. The clock is ticking, and every second we waste brings us closer to disaster. Long before Jesus walked the dusty streets of Jerusalem, a prophet named Daniel saw visions so intense that they made him faint. He saw kings rise and fall. He saw wars that would tear the world apart. And he saw a final, terrible moment that would trigger the end. It's written in Daniel 9, verse 27, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation." This prophecy isn't about some small political deal. It's not about a minor conflict. It's about a world-changing event. What kind of covenant could be so powerful that it leads to worldwide collapse? We'll uncover that in just a moment. Daniel was shown a leader, a man who would seem like a hero at first. He would bring peace to a broken world. He would make an agreement, a covenant, that brings relief to nations desperate for stability. But in the middle of that peace, suddenly, everything would turn dark. The peace that feels like salvation will become the very trap that destroys millions. 3.5 years into that covenant, the leader will break his promise. He will stop the sacrifices. He will desecrate the holy place, the very place where God's presence is meant to dwell. The holy place isn't just about Israel. It's about the entire story of redemption. If it's defiled, judgment will fall everywhere. This isn't just a random act of evil. It's a deliberate slap in God's face, a mocking, a blasphemy so bold that it will make heaven itself respond with wrath. When the abomination stands in the holy place, it won't just be a political event. It will be a spiritual earthquake shaking the heavens and the earth. Daniel didn't just stop with that one vision. He had more. In Daniel 11, verse 31, it says, "And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate." This tells us it won't happen quietly. There will be military force. There will be violence. There will be a public takeover of God's most sacred ground. But what exactly will the abomination be? And how could we recognize it if it happens in our time? You'll need to see what's coming next, because it's not what most people expect. If you don't know the signs, you won't even realize when the world crosses the point of no return. The book of Daniel also warns us about the consequences. In Daniel 12, verse 11, it says, "And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days." That's 1,290 days, almost 3.5 years, of unimaginable suffering after the abomination is set up. This is not a suffering we can pray away. It's a storm that must come, and only the prepared will survive it spiritually. Daniel was so overwhelmed by these visions that he fell sick. He couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep, because he saw what most of the world is still blind to today. And what Daniel couldn't explain fully, Jesus would later reveal with even more urgency. Stay close, because the next layer will change everything you thought you knew. What you are about to see will uncover how history gave us a shadow, and why that shadow is rising again in our generation. This isn't ancient history. It's tomorrow's headlines waiting to explode into reality. The warning Jesus gave wasn't something new. The people of his time already knew what it meant, because their ancestors had lived through a horrifying preview of it. It was around 167 BC, when a wicked king rose to power, a man named Antiochus Epiphanes. He hated the God of Israel, he hated the temple, and he hated everything holy. Driven by rage and pride, he did something so shocking. It left scars on the nation's soul that would last for generations. Antiochus stormed into Jerusalem with his army. He seized the beautiful temple, the place where God's presence dwelled, and he defiled it. He marched an image of Zeus, a false god, into the temple. Right there, in the very heart of God's house, he set up a blasphemous altar. And to make it worse, he sacrificed pigs on the altar, an animal considered utterly unclean by God's law. It was not just an insult. It was an abomination, a mockery of everything God had commanded. The blood that stained that holy ground was just a shadow of the blood that will be spilled in the final betrayal still ahead. The people were devastated. Families wept. Priests tore their robes. The streets of Jerusalem filled with terror, confusion, and rage. But Antiochus didn't stop there. He outlawed the reading of the scriptures. He forbade circumcision, the sign of God's covenant with his people. He forced the Jews to eat pork, publicly mocking their devotion. And anyone who disobeyed faced death. What happened under Antiochus wasn't just persecution. It was full-blown war against God himself. And it's a glimpse of the war that's coming again. But if you think that horror was the end of it, you need to see how something even worse still to come. The faithful suffered terribly. But they remembered Daniel's prophecy, the warning about the abomination. They fought back. They rose up. Through the Maccabean revolt, the temple was reclaimed, cleansed, rededicated. It's why the Jewish people even today celebrate Hanukkah, remembering how God delivered them from the terror of Antiochus. But listen carefully. The victory then was temporary, a flicker of light before an even darker storm would someday cover the world. Jesus wasn't talking about Antiochus when he warned about the abomination of desolation. He was talking about something still future, something far more deadly, something that would not just shake a nation, but shake the heavens themselves. What kind of leader could commit an act so blasphemous that it would trigger the final judgments of God? And how close are we to seeing history repeat itself? Not in shadows, but in full force. Very soon, we'll discover how Jesus' prophecy opens the door to into a terrifying chain of events, and how it all begins with a single devastating act inside a rebuilt temple. Stay with me, because what's coming is not a possibility. It's a certainty, and when the moment strikes, there will be no warning, no second chances, no time to debate. Only one thing will matter. Will you recognize it in time? And will you be ready to run? Jesus didn't leave us wondering whether the abomination of desolation would happen again. He said it plainly. "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place." Notice, he said when, not if. It's not a possibility. It's a certainty. It's not a warning for another people, another time. It's for us. The final fulfillment is coming. The stage is being set even now. And when it happens, there will be no second warning. It will seem peaceful at first. A beautiful hope will rise before it turns into the greatest betrayal the world has ever seen. The first time the temple was desecrated, the people were caught off guard. This time, the deception will be even deeper. Who will orchestrate this betrayal? And how will they convince the whole world to celebrate it? Even Christians who should know better. In the next few moments, we'll dig into the secret preparations already underway and reveal why the next abomination could be closer than anyone dares to admit. We aren't just talking about history. We're talking about your future, your life, and the final choices you will have to make. Right now, in Israel, plans for a third temple are moving forward quietly. Sacred temple vessels have been recreated. Priests have been trained in ancient rituals. Sacrifices have already been practiced in preparation. Every piece is falling into place. The world will applaud the rebuilding, believing it's a symbol of peace. But hidden behind it will be a dagger pointed at the heart of humanity. The Bible warns that the Antichrist will broker a deal, a covenant with many, that will allow worship to begin again. At first, it will seem like the fulfillment of prophecy in the best way. Songs will be sung, pilgrimages will be made. Celebrations will explode across the earth. But how will the celebration turn into devastation? And what silent signal will mark the moment it's too late to turn back? If you're not ready before it happens, you won't have time to get ready afterward. The danger is not just the act of defiling the temple. The danger is the acceptance of it. The Antichrist won't need to force most people. They will cheer for him. They will thank him for uniting faiths. They will worship him without realizing what they have done. The moment of celebration will become the moment of judgment, and by the time the world realizes the truth, the trap will already be locked. Jesus warned, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." Let that sink in. The worst suffering the world has ever seen will begin the moment the abomination stands in the holy place. Not after, not months later. Immediately. What will the first hours of the Great Tribulation look like? And why will escape be nearly impossible once it starts? Now we'll step into the future, into the terror Jesus warned about, so that you can prepare before it's too late. Your awareness right now could mean your survival then, because once it starts, the window to act will slam shut. Jesus' warning isn't meant to scare us into hiding. It's meant to wake us up while we still have a chance to choose. When you see, not when you think about it, not when you hear rumors. When you see it happen, you run. You don't ask questions. You don't argue. You don't even stop to gather your things. You run. Because in that moment, the deception will be so great, the danger so immediate, the destruction so sure, that hesitation will be fatal. The saddest part is that many will stand frozen in disbelief, waiting for a second sign. But none will come to uncover the true nature of the Antichrist's plan and why Jesus' warning is more urgent today than ever. The closer we get, the less time you'll have to make the right choice. And once it begins, the world you know will be gone forever. Somewhere, right now, behind the scenes, a man is being prepared for his moment. The world doesn't see him yet, but he's coming. The Bible calls him many names: the man of sin, the son of perdition, the little horn, the beast. In 2 Thessalonians 2 verses 3-4 it warns, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." This isn't science fiction. This is real prophecy. The Antichrist won't rise as a dictator at first. He will come as a man of peace, a problem solver, a unifier. He will speak the right words. He will offer hope to a world drowning in chaos. People will love him. They will call him a savior. The world will trust him blindly. And by the time they realize the trap, it will have already snapped shut. The Antichrist's goal is simple: erase all loyalty to God. Replace it with loyalty to himself. Force every man, woman, and child to choose. Worship him or die. The choice will come so quickly and so brutally that many won't even realize they've sealed their fate until it's too late. And Jesus said, when you see this, when you see the abomination stand in the holy place, don't argue, don't hesitate, don't think you can fight it. He said, run. But where can you run when the whole world is falling under his power? The escape plan is hidden, and it's urgent. Stay with me. Everything we are building toward, every warning in Scripture, leads to this one deadly moment. It's happening through political movements pushing a one-world system. You may have already seen it. Calls for all religions to come together. Calls for a global faith that fits everyone. Calls to erase the differences that God Himself created. If the world succeeds in mixing light and darkness, truth and lies, then the deception will be complete, and millions will follow the wrong path straight into destruction. And deep inside this movement is one goal: to prepare a throne for the one who will demand to be worshipped above all. But how close are we to that throne being ready? You'll find out in just a moment. Jesus warned us, "Take heed that no man deceive you." Matthew 24, He knew that the greatest danger wouldn't come through violence first. It would come through smooth words, smiling faces, and false promises of peace. If we aren't anchored to the truth now, the flood of lies that's coming will sweep us away before we even realize it. Look at the world's headlines. Talks of a shared temple space in Jerusalem, plans for international religious gatherings, movements to rewrite Scripture to make it less offensive. Every day, the foundation for the abomination is being built, brick by brick, speech by speech, law by law. And yet most people are asleep. They don't see it. They don't feel the ground shaking under their feet. They don't realize that the trap is almost ready to snap shut. Next, we'll pull back the curtain even further, because the world's leaders are already talking about a new system that will change everything you know about worship and freedom. The prophet Paul warned in 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 11, "And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie." A strong delusion, not a small misunderstanding, not a simple mistake. A powerful worldwide blindness, where wrong will seem right and evil will look good. And the terrifying truth is, this delusion isn't coming someday. It's already started. But where is it showing up first? The greatest danger is not what you can see. It's what you trust without questioning. And if you trust the wrong thing now, there may be no time to fix it later. Jesus made it crystal clear in Matthew 2. When you see the holy place desecrated, whether by a false Messiah, a blasphemous act, or an image set up for worship, you run. Don't wait. Don't debate. Don't pray for guidance. Run. The ones who hesitate will fall into the nightmare of the Great Tribulation. If Jesus told us to run, that's why the preparation starts now. So what do you do? First, you have to prepare your mind. You must decide right now, before the panic, before the fear, that if you see the abomination, you will obey Jesus without question. You won't hesitate. You won't argue. You won't wait for someone else to tell you it's time. Your future decisions are being shaped by what you decide in your heart today. Second, you have to prepare your spirit. The Bible must not just be on your shelf. It must be alive inside you. You must know God's Word like you know your own name. Psalm 119 verse 11 says, "Thy word have I hid in mine heart, that I might not sin against thee." You won't have time to search for verses later. You won't have time to ask for advice. You must already be standing strong when the earthquake hits. The ones who don't know God's voice now will be easily fooled by the false miracles later. Third, you must prepare your life. Think about it. If you had to flee your home in an instant, are you ready? Do you have a basic plan? Do you know where you would go? Do you know how you would survive for a few days if everything shut down? This isn't about living in fear. This is about living in wisdom. Proverbs 22 verse 3 says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil, and hideth himself, but the simple pass on, and are punished." What simple step could save your life in the first 24 hours after the abomination appears? We'll uncover it next. Your physical readiness could be the very tool God uses to answer your desperate prayers in that moment. Fourth, you must prepare your family. It's not enough for you to know what to do. Your children need to know. Your spouse needs to know. Your loved ones need to understand the seriousness of Jesus' warning. Imagine the horror of trying to explain in the middle of chaos, when every second counts, and realizing it's too late. Those who haven't prepared their families will face heartbreaking choices when the moment comes. However, where will these people be able to run to? We know that there will be regions that those who refuse the mark of the beast. The first location is the wilderness country. In chapter 12 of Revelation, we get to the war in heaven. We see an amazing picture of a pregnant woman clothed with the sun being attacked by a dragon. This is one of the hardest chapters in Revelation to understand, because it's full of symbols. Scholars argue about it a lot, but let's try to figure it out. The dragon is easy to identify. Who is the dragon? The Bible tells us that it is the old serpent, the devil. The dragon represents Satan. The Bible also states that the dragon drags down a third of the stars of heaven. This means that 1/3 of the angels followed Satan when he rebelled against God. These fallen angels are now referred to as demons. Therefore, demons are angels who chose to follow Satan instead of God. However, here's the good news. there are still twice as many good angels as there are bad ones. Now we have this dragon, Satan, leading an army of demons. He's waiting for a pregnant woman, clothed with the sun, to give birth to a child. He wants to kill the child as soon as it's born. When you hear that, who comes to mind? Mary, right? Many people think of Mary because the Roman Catholic Church sees this chapter as referring to her. With their special respect for Mary, they interpret this chapter that way. But this chapter could also refer to Israel. There are three main ways to understand this vision. The first way is to see the woman as Mary, the baby as Jesus, and the dragon as Satan trying to kill Jesus. This fits the story of Herod trying to kill Jesus as a baby. But why would that story be in the middle of Revelation during the big trouble? It doesn't seem to fit. The second way is to see the woman as Israel, God's people. If that's the case, then who is the baby? Some say it's Jesus, but I want to share a third way that might fit Revelation better. Why is this vision placed here, toward the end of the big trouble? Let's talk about how women are used as symbols in the book of Revelation. In Revelation, every woman represents a group of people, not just one person. For instance, there's the Scarlet Woman, who stands for Babylon, and the bride, who symbolizes the New Jerusalem, God's people. So, this woman must also represent a group of people. The passage says her baby boy is killed, but the rest of her children escape into the wilderness and survive. So, is the baby boy a single person or a group? Maybe the boy represents martyrs, people who die because of their faith. In Revelation, it says Christ will rule with a rod of iron, and it also says Christians will rule with him. This tells us that what happened to Jesus will also happen to Christians during the end times. Here's something important. The woman runs into the wilderness for 1,260 days. That's the same amount of time as the Great Tribulation. This means it's not about Jesus' birth. It's about the big trouble coming at the end. I believe the woman represents the church. The man-child stands for the martyrs Satan wants to destroy, and her other children are the ones who escape and survive in the wilderness. This idea aligns perfectly with the context of this story within Revelation. There are three main interpretations. Some believe that the woman represents Mary and the baby represents Jesus, but that narrative is already covered in the Gospels. Others suggest that the woman symbolizes Israel and the boy is Jesus. However, this interpretation struggles to account for the devil's attempt to kill Jesus as a baby appearing in Revelation. The third interpretation posits that the woman represents the church. Her children are Christians, and while some will be martyred, others will survive by fleeing into the wilderness for 1,260 days. It's important to note that not every Christian will die as a martyr. When Jesus returns, there will still be believers alive on earth. The countdown has already begun. Right now, forces are moving faster than ever before toward the fulfillment of everything Jesus warned about. In Jerusalem today, organizations are making preparations for a third temple. Blueprints are drawn. Materials are gathered. Even the sacred instruments, the altar, the menorah, the priestly garments, are ready. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has already announced that they have everything needed to begin sacrifices as soon as the temple is built. And not just that, the idea of rebuilding the temple is no longer just a religious dream. It's becoming a political movement. There are groups that believe that peace in the Middle East cannot happen without rebuilding the temple first. Negotiations are happening behind closed doors that could one day make it possible. And once the temple is rebuilt, the stage will be set. The holy place will stand once again. And the opportunity for the abomination of desolation to occur will finally exist. For 2,000 years, Christians and Jews alike wondered how this could happen. The temple was destroyed in 70 AD. It seemed impossible. But today, for the first time in centuries, it's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. At the same time, the world is being conditioned to accept new leadership. A global hunger for peace, security, and unity is sweeping across nations. People are desperate for solutions, desperate enough to follow anyone who promises to end the chaos. The Bible warns that a charismatic leader will rise, one who appears to have the answers, one who will offer peace, but at a terrible price. The technology for global control is already here. Digital currencies, surveillance systems, biometric tracking, artificial intelligence capable of monitoring every transaction, every movement, every word.